glass. That's okay. I'm off my soapbox, right? So, anyway, so we got the jail trust. My understanding, I just read I just read the headlines that the new administrator at the jail is going to give a average $3,000 a year raise to the jail staff.
That is good news.
Yeah,
that is good news. It is in dire need to increase the salaries of just about everyone across the board in the sheriff's office, but particularly for those people. And I'm thinking back to the most recent Board of County Commissioners meeting in Oklahoma County, where one of the sheriff's deputies, who's the head of the FOP that covers them, it was dealing with the issue of off-duty employment.
Yeah, FOP, that's the police union for the sheriff's department.
Right, Fraternal Order of Police.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the issue of off-duty employment for the deputies because it had become an issue with the most recent shooting incident at the Quail Springs Mall, Penn Square Mall in Oklahoma City. And of course, once again, Commissioner Calvi became the lightning rod for this issue. The sheriff's department as a whole seems to have singled him out as the enemy, if you will. And so they brought up the point, if you give all of the deputies a $10,000 a year raise, then we won't need to seek outside employment.
Yeah. It's funny. Brian Maughn's been county commissioner now. Is this his second term or?
I believe so.
Okay. Calvi is new to it. It seems like, that was that swing vote for many of the things because your third county commissioner is basically socialist.
Right. Carrie Bloomert, she is definitely a leftist-leaning Democrat. Yeah. Which, for not a general representation of what we normally accept as Oklahoma values per se. But she's very, very open and accessible and transparent, and you know what you're getting with her, and she is actually a great source of information on what is going on with the jail trust and the county commissioners.
Oh, even though she's not on the trust. She tried to get on.
Right, she tried to get on.
Yeah.
But she's not part of the trust, and Commissioner Calvi is that person on the trust. But as a county commissioner, she does appoint other people.
Yes. Okay, it's Calvi's on the trust?
Calvi's
not Maughan?
Not Maughan.
Okay.
Calvi's on the trust, as well as, again, as we said, former Lieutenant Governor Lamb, who has an interest in private prisons.
Yeah, okay.
Which was interesting when the topic of privatization came up. He was the loudest voice against it.
Huh. Well, now that's interesting. Because that's kind of our failed experiment of the 90s under the Keating administration. And I was, siding with Keating then, kind of benefit of the doubt. I didn't understand the nature of the arguments that well, but after 10 years of seeing it, I guess the first thing that tipped me off, we may have a problem here, was when they were contracting to send our prisoners out of state.
Yes.
And, and here's where I come at it, because I'm a devout Christian, or try to be as devout as, it's always a, progress with all of us. But Jesus said, in a parable, well, when have we done these things for you, Lord? Like visiting you when you were in prison. And he said, whenever you've done it to the least of these, you've done it unto me. In my Catholic upbringing, I think if I remember right, they're called the corporal works of mercy. The things that you should do. It's a duty to do. And visiting those in prison was one of them. Mm-hmm. But here I see a state policy that's going to make it especially hard for you to do that.
Oh, absolutely. If we're shifting them elsewhere, making them inaccessible, basically.
Now, does that make me soft on crime, that I think they should have visitors? No, listen. I think if you got kids and you're in jail, we need to make you as accessible to your kids as possible. I think beyond that is a cruel and unusual punishment. Because you know what? I think it's important for those kids still to feel like they are accountable, even though you're not there. So, I'm sorry, I'm getting off on a soapbox.
Even outside of children and relatives, just visitors in general, visitation.
Sure.
We're not putting everyone into solitary confinement.
Right, yeah. And you know, it's to the point where we're sentencing them in many ways to mental derangement by what we put them through.
Right.
In fact, I hosted a town hall meeting last week, and we were talking just a little bit. It was mostly about marijuana policy, but it got on to criminal justice reform, and State Representative T.J. Marty said, well, we still have about 149 more cases that we think are ready for a commutation. And somebody said, well, let them out. Well, we don't know that they're ready to be let out. And in the person, well, wait a minute. These are nonviolent offenses. These are things like simple drug possession. So, okay, you didn't like the fact that they were using marijuana for self-medicating or relaxation, whatever, casual use, and that, and so you decided to lock them up, or your predecessors in the legislature. And now you're saying they're not ready to come out. Well, they spent all these years in prison, and we just think it's a tough transition. Like, oh, so they're broken, but they weren't broke when they went in. But now you've got to remediate them from how you broke them.
Until you think that they're ready to go back to the environment that we probably shouldn't have snatched them out of in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So